We are the voices that guide the realms of men. We are the Night's Watch. And we're back. Hello. As always, I am your host, Cal the Kingslayer, and today we'll be talking about Season 8, Episode 5, the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones, The Bells, but I can't do it alone, so I am joined by the lovely people over at House Oddshaped Channel, Lord Tom and Lady Kimber. How are you guys?
How's it going?
Doing good.
Counting down the episodes, we got one more after this. I mean, for Game of Thrones, 2 more Night's Watches after this. But yeah, this is getting closer to the end, and I know people are getting antsy. There's been a lot of uproar on the Twitter, petitions, and all this going on. Without going into details about the episodes, like, how'd you guys feel? Because I know last week, or the last few weeks, you've been quite disappointed. So how'd you guys feel this episode?
I thought this was better. The show is broken, so I'm just trying to get enjoyment where I can at this point. But I am pretty happy that everyone is pissed now. So, like, I've noticed that people coming for me on social media has declined because now everybody's upset. I don't necessarily agree with some of the things they're upset about, and we're clearly upset about different things, but everyone seems to be upset. So at least we're all on the same page with that for the most part.
And yourself, Tom?
Yeah, I concur.
Well,
Great, checked out.
Well, I was thinking, like, I don't know if you guys saw what I retweeted, but there was a thing on how they drew a parallel to Star Wars where it was like, oh, well, Lando didn't, like, do it. He was only in, like, one movie, and then he got to kill, like, destroy the Death Star, and, like, Luke, whatever, didn't get to kill Vader or the Emperor and all that. And, like, they were just, like, trying, like, compared to how people will get mad about Game of Thrones. Do you guys see any, like, parallel there about, like, how the you gotta go back and look at one of my tweets. It's one of my tweets from, like, earlier this week. So it made me feel not as bad, but I still feel bad about what's going on with Thrones. But what?
The thing with Star Wars is it's one prophecy it gave us. It subverted. It didn't just, like, it said, oh, you be the chosen, or, like, they think he's gonna be the chosen one. He's not. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's different than feeding us a bunch of stuff and then changing your minds.
Yeah, with that. Okay. So a lot of people in the chat, we got to say hi to the people in the chat. We got Eric, he can't stop by because he's watching the Survivor finale. I wasn't aware that show was still on, but he says his champion is Danny and the shame bell goes to Varys. And he actually rang the bell 3 times for us, so thank you, Eric, for that. Welcome, Rain. Hey, girl. Hey, what's going on, Sky? Delisha as well. Tom and Kimber, as always. And TJ, I think I saw. And Michaela, how are you? And I think I covered everybody. Danny's madness is glorious. Yeah, I know Delisha, I know she texted me about it too. She was like, oh, I need to vent for a second. And it was funny because, you know, like, she's from the opposite side. She really is enjoying the season. Like, I'm like, you know, everyone's going to have their opinions about the season. If you like it, you know, enjoy it. No, you know, you're entitled to how you feel. And if people don't like it, let them, like, don't let it bother you because it's not going to change how you feel about the show. And don't let it change how you feel about the show. You know, just enjoy what you're enjoying and stuff like that.
Yeah, she sent me that rant too, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, boo, but I'm like the worst person to send this particular rant to.
But yeah, so you'll be back to commercials. Okay, cool. So yeah, a lot of people are still saying it right now. They're upset about it in the chat. But you know what? It's all we have left. Unless that petition goes through and they rewrite the last 6 episodes and redo them, I doubt that'll ever happen. But no, this is it. And I know we don't have any birthdays today, but we should start out with Take the Black. And I know we're also, once again, wishing the best. Remember, Take the Black. If you buy the shirt, send a picture of you wearing the shirt. It'll be featured on the show. And this week's is from Across the Narrow Sea. Richelle wearing it. And we're wishing them the best. I know they're having some power outages over there and, like, it's extensive heat and stuff like that. And the water goes off when the power's off. So we're wishing him the best, him and his family the best again. But Richelle, thank you for joining and welcome to the Night's Watch. Thank you for taking the black. And now your watch begins. All right, so here we go when we go for Season 8, Episode 5, The Bells. The episode starts out with Varys writing some scrolls, and it's very much a callback to how Ned was writing the scroll about when Robert dies, he writes the one true heir. He doesn't write my son, because I think when Robert is dictating it, he says my son, Joffrey or something, but Ned writes like the true heir on the paper, which is what Varys writes, true heir. And he has several scrolls, as you see there. So some of them have already been written, and he's continued to write it over and over. He's in interrupted by a servant girl. I don't know. I think her name was Martha or Marta, because that's what he says. But she's the one that was in the crypts with him in the Winterfell crypts, and she's one of the little birds because we haven't heard from his little birds in a while. That's one of the little birds because the little birds kind of went over to Qyburn, I think, towards the Scepter Baylor episode. They ended up killing Grandmaster Pycelle and stuff. But now they're back with, at least one is back with Varys. He's starting his little spy network again. Jon is then arrives to Dragonstone, and he's greeted by Varys, who talks to him about a secret. He goes, that the one saying is that whenever Targaryen is born, a coin is flipped, whether it'll be mad or normal. And she goes, I don't know what's gonna happen with Dany, but I do know what happened with you, implying that he knows who he is. And he goes, I don't want it. One of the memes I saw and posted today too, as well as was like Jon's script this entire season is like, she's my queen, and I don't want it. The two things he says like all season. He doesn't have much dialogue this season besides that, pretty much. And brooding, obviously. As that's happening, Tyrion's looking on at them, but Tyrion comes to Dany and tells him, listen, you've been betrayed. And she goes, by Jon? He goes, no, by Varys. And she goes, well, it's Jon because Jon told Sansa, Sansa told you, you told Varys. So Tyrion's like, he admits to his mistake, but, he had to, do it to get other ideas about what to do. Because whatever he does is to protect the queen. The next scene is where Varys gets pretty much apprehended by Grey Worm, and they Unsullied. They bring him out to the beach and surround him because we know he's going to probably get executed. Like I think Tom was saying last week, the fire is probably going to be coming for him. So Tyrion walks up to Varys and says, "Hey, it was me. I want you to know it was me that did it." And then Drogon appears, and seemingly we think he executes Varys. We don't see it on screen, so we don't know if it happened, but we do see a pile of fire. They could have just been lighting a bonfire to celebrate. Hey, thank you for telling us you betrayed him. But most likely Varys is dead, and that burning thing is Varys right there. The next scene, we see Grey Worm and Dany grieving over Missandei. Dany gives Grey Worm the one collar, the slave collar, that's the only thing Missandei kept from across the Narrow Sea. Grey Worm throws it into the fire. Then Jon comes in. Dany chastises Jon about telling Sansa, but Jon once again reassures her that he does not want the throne. He then also proclaims his love for her, but Dany says, but it's as a queen, nothing more. So Dany goes, well, then I guess I'm going to have to rule by fear, because that's the only thing that's left to do. So that's the last conversation they had. So what do you guys think from the beginning, from Varys' scene all the way up to the scene in the bedroom with the bed chambers with Dany and Jon?
I know Tom wants to say some things about the Varys scene, so I'm going to let him.
Yeah.
All right.
What do you think was up with him checking on if she was eating or not?
Maybe he poisoned her?
The popular theory was he was trying to poison her, and I like that.
That would be crazy.
Well, I mean, he's the spider.
Right.
So,
I know early on there was a scene with Pycelle where he referred to poison as a woman's weapon. It's the weapon of women and eunuchs. And then he literally says right after that, you know that Varys is a eunuch, right? So that was kind of cool, like insinuating that Varys has maybe done stuff like that before. I'm not sure what season that is, but that's pretty early on the show, first, second, third season, somewhere in there. So yeah, I'm with that theory, but he also said she wasn't eating, so we don't know how successful that was.
I could also see it as him gauging on her stability. Like, is she eating? Is she, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he was also like, are they watching you?
Yeah.
With great risk comes great reward. So it was heavily implied that he was trying to poison her, which I like.
I liked it too.
Because him and Tyrion had the conversation too, and Tyrion was like, don't, which has become like Tyrion's thing that he always does, like, shade, don't. That's his catchphrase now. But yeah, I thought all this stuff was fine.
Yeah.
I do think that Jon withholding intercourse from Dany had some pretty severe repercussions later in the episode, which I think is funny, the way they decided to like play it from a writing standpoint. Yeah, but it like the way it comes off is like if Jon would have just like given her some dick, like none of the rest of the things would have happened. So it's a little funny to me. But yeah.
That's very interesting about the poison thing because you think you can still play a factor because like what she's gonna fall off the dragon or something because she's like sick or something or she can't really.
No, she wasn't eating, so I don't think she was able to get poisoned. But
Yeah, that I mean
she
that
probably didn't trust anybody, which
yeah, that makes sense. He's running to Dumbledore, Sky says.
I also think it's sad that now that, because her and Missandei used to braid each other's hair, and now that Missandei is gone, she's like a little disheveled, probably out of grief, but also because she's always had Missandei there to like help take care of her. So that was like a physical illustration of like her sadness and obviously not having her best friend there.
Yeah, she like normally her hair is always like well done, makeup and all that. And she didn't have that. She looked like normal.
I thought she was gonna end up cutting her hair before she went down to King's Landing because she lost 2 dragons. She lost her like one good advisor, and I thought that would have been really cool with the episode being called it's an afterthought now, but with the episode called The Bells, it could be a reference to her hair as well, because of the Dothraki wearing bells in their hair.
Yeah. But like I don't think she even considers herself a Dothraki anymore. I don't think so, right? So I don't think she'd keep to that.
I mean, I don't know. Like in the book, she still wears like riding crops under her dresses and stuff, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, but this is so not the book anymore.
It's hard to like.
This is like its whole own different.
I'm trying to fill the gaps, and I don't have any information but the books to fill those gaps.
TJ says classic Britney Spears using an episode. He also said that the bird was the one that worked in the kitchen, so that makes sense that they were watching her. So it's a good call though. Leave Britney alone, Sky says. All right. So any other thoughts before we move on to the next part of the episode?
Nope. You can keep going.
All right. So Tyrion makes one last plea to Dany to what do you call it? Spare the kingdom because you can't rule over all dead people, kind of thing. And she kind of nods to Grey Worm, and Grey Worm walks out. And he continues his plea, and then she tells him about Jaime, that we've captured Jaime because I guess he never lost love for his queen. And then as he walks out, she makes one more thing, says you have no more failures left in you. You failed me one too many times. The next failure will be your last. So he's been threatened as well. Meanwhile, at King's Landing, a lot of people are trying to get into the gates of King's Landing. They're all marching them all into the. So this is from outside the Red Keep. This is just getting to King's Landing, I'm assuming, because there's a Red Keep scene later on. Jon and Tyrion arrive, and it can't be Blackwater Bay, so it's got to be the other side because the Iron Fleet was in Blackwater Bay, so I guess another side of water. And Davos is there waiting, and then Tyrion asks Davos for a favor because he said, "You are the best smuggler that I know, or ever in history, or whatever." So I need a favor. At the same time, a little bit later probably because it's darker here now. Sandor and Arya Stark show up, and Arya's like, "I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell, so you better let me through." And then Sandor goes, "Listen, you let her through and end the war right here. There will be like no battle, no siege, nothing if you let her through, because she'll just go ahead and kill the queen, no problem." We got a good scene with Tyrion and Jaime in the camp. This is kind of like reflective of how Jaime was captured in season 1, but also reflective to when Tyrion was imprisoned in the dungeons, and Jaime lets him free right before he kills Tywin Lannister. But this is a one of my best scenes of the show, this episode, I think, because I really, I'm a huge Jaime fan. It's just nice to see them together. What we think is going to be for the last time, we know now, but I'm saying for here, what we think is going to be the last time. And he goes, "How'd you get caught?" And he holds up his hand and goes, "Oh, Cersei always said I was the stupidest Lannister." And then he frees Jaime and says, they say they're goodbyes, but he says, I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for you. You really brought me through childhood and all that. Like you were my best friend, my biggest protector, and all that. It was a really good moment. And he also reiterates, listen, if you get through, convince Cersei. Whatever you do, convince Cersei. And when you do convince Cersei, tell them to ring the bells and open the gates, because that'll be the signal for surrender. And he says it twice just to make sure he knows. And I think he also says it to Jon twice as well, because they want to surrender. They want to take the city cleanly. So then we get the preparations the next morning. Euron and the Iron Fleet are getting ready on the Blackwater Bay. Sandor and Arya get through the final gate pretty much, and Jamie arrives also at King's Landing. A lot of people are also locked out at the final gate, including Jamie. And he kind of like waves his hand, saying "Soldier, soldier" with his golden hand, hoping that they'd recognize him. And then we see that the mother and daughter with the little white horse statue that they showed several times. I think they opened the episode with her coming into the city. That's the first scene with her in the city. I mean, in King's Landing, with them coming in, and with Arya scene, and then later on we'll see them again. But yeah, so everything's prepping up for the battle now. So up from Tyrion's final plea to Dany and the failure comment to the preparation before the battle. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I liked that Jamie and Tyrion scene, but I think that Jamie is wrong. I think on the show at this point, Tyrion, my boy, my favorite living character, is probably the dumbest one in his family. He just, like, I get what he's trying to do, but I don't know why he keeps having faith in any sort of idea that Cersei might be able to be persuaded. I think it's been proven several times that she's not going to be persuaded, so I don't know why he thinks that this little dingy plan is going to work out.
I can see it from the perspective that, hey, maybe if it's you who tries to change her mind. But then again, he did try to change her mind about sending the army north to fight the dead. So, and
she also tried to have them both killed last episode.
That's the big thing.
So, and I was laughing because we were watching this one video and they were talking about, he says, like, if the winds are kind, like, they'll get to Pentos by blah, blah, blah amount of time. And their ship, their little dinghy, doesn't have any sails, so the winds being kind, like, literally has nothing to do with it. So we were laughing about that too. But this did feel like Game of Thrones, at least the dialogue here. It had some heart.
It made me think about the kush, kush, kush.
Oh, yeah, the beetle.
And, so that was cool.
I think his name is like Orville Lannister.
The Orville Lannister. What else? I think that's about it. We're about to get into the parts where I get really mad.
We'll get heated.
I don't know what. We'll get there.
All right, so I guess we're revving up for the battle, literally, too. So we get, let me see.
Battle.
Yeah, you can also say that too.
It's
the Iron Fleet, the Tower Garrisons, Golden Company prepare for battle. So we saw Euron and them the Tower Garrisons, and then we see Harry Strickland leading the Golden Company at the front gates of the Tower of King's Landing. Tyrion and Jon and Davos are up on the opposite side of the Golden Company, and he goes, remember, if you hear the bells, and the gates open, the city is surrendering, so let them be. And Cersei's perched on her normal area where she watched kind of the Scepter Baelor explode back in season, I guess, was it 5 season finale or season 6 finale, whatever it was. Basically, it's a different outfit, but it's still a beautiful outfit that she has, the red and gold Lannister, as opposed to the black that she wore in that episode. But this was just a great, once again, the costume design and all that is fantastic. And especially the golden medallion, Lannister medallion. Another thing to mention, that the ballistas or the scorpions on the King's Landing tower garrisons are ordained with lion heads, and they look really cool. So like they really paid attention to detail to houses. Like houses are a big thing, and how like the Kraken tentacles were for the Greyjoy on Euron's ship, and now the lion head ornaments on the scorpions of the thing. Meanwhile, here's all the people trying to get into the city. They're really struggling. Then the battle begins. We see Euron looking up at the sky, what we see in the trailer. And, I was saying before that it might be using Aegon and their strategy. Aegon, why can't I think of their names? Visenya and
Rhaenys,
yeah. Where they fly in from above the clouds. It wasn't really that much above the clouds. They had plenty of time to see it, but I guess it's hard for them to see her because she's flying in from the sun. Another thing, I know you guys are gonna have complaints, but I'm gonna tell you my complaint right now, and then you guys can address it when you get to your part. But why couldn't she just come in from angles where the ballistas weren't aimed? I know there were so many of them. She could have just came in from, like, especially just coming over the city from a certain angle. She could have taken all the ballistas from the city out, and then the ships could be another factor, obviously later. But that's one thing, you guys. When you get to your ideas, let me know. So then Dany just quickly takes out the Iron Fleet, no problem. Remember, each of these have ballistas, and they can all shoot at once, but they're all just missing. So I guess the 1 in 100 shot did happen last time, or this is like 5 in 500 shots that happened. So it still has a 1 in 100 shot average.
1 in a million, not 1 in 100. That's
okay. So 5 in 5 million, and then they're all happened then. So now the next 499 million won't ever hit. So that's what we're set for this episode. So yeah, the Iron Fleet is quickly demolished by the dragons, and then they see the people at the main gate looking on each other face to face. All of a sudden, behind the Golden Company, the castle gates blow open because Danny and Drogon have come from the inside, and the Golden Company takes a massive hit. Then we see a callback to the scene where the Battle of the Bastards, where Jon gets up, the camera pans and sees the charging Bolton army, and Jon, being the brave warrior he is, pulls out a sword. Well, Harry Strickland, being the mercenary he is, turns tail and runs, but he doesn't get too far because he gets speared by Grey Worm from behind, and then the Dothraki, the Unsullied, and the Northern Army all breach the city walls, the outer city walls, and start, the Dothraki do what they do. They go and pillage and start killing people left and right. But mostly they're heading towards the inner gates, and we'll get to who they meet up with in a second, or at least the Northern Army meets up with. But while this is happening, Tyrion is walking and seeing all the slaughter of all the people here. We do see a Dothraki here, so I guess there was a Dothraki injured in that part, but mostly it's a lot of Golden Company injured here. So that was pretty much the initial attack to breach the outer walls. So I need to talk about from the battle's beginning to the breach of the outer wall.
I would have no problem with any of this if the episode beforehand, right?
Yeah, the main issue is I see people, Sky, saying that she or he calls bullshit on that scene. I call bullshit on last week. The thing is, they put a scene where he hit a dragon so many times so easily next to a scene where she took out like 50 ships easily together, too close. So it seems ridiculous because the two don't match together. When in my mind, the Rhaegal thing is more ridiculous than this. She would realistically, to me, be able to smoke this whole fleet, but because it seems so easy for them to take out one of her dragons, this seems preposterous.
Yeah,
okay.
Martin.
Wait, let me say one thing. The only thing that could make the Rhaegal scene seem legit compared to this scene is because, now, I know the whole point of the dragons that you see, survey and see everything, but they were ambushed, So the first shot that hit him, that was like a surprise shot, like a sniper. Like, you wouldn't know where that was coming from, and you just got sniped.
But the point is, it should have hit him. It should have hit him and then pretty much like glanced off of all of his crazy armored scales that dragons have, like you do. It shouldn't have just impaled him. Yeah, maybe he would get hit and you'd get one stuck in there like he did when Drogon was attacked by the Harpies, and it's stuck in there, but they're still continuing. It shouldn't have been able to just go through the neck and stuff like that. It was too easy. Martin himself thinks it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like Arya threw a spear at them or something. It was that easy.
Like with the Night King, at least it was like
Brad Pitt and Troy when Achilles throws a spear, destroys the
But what I was saying was Martin and the writers of the show have equated one dragon to a nuclear bomb. So the kind of devastation that we saw in this episode, not even before she goes on to more parts in the episode, is appropriate, I think.
Yeah.
The thing that was dumb was that she wasn't flying above the landscape to see. Like, that was it could have been fixed if she was flying 1,000 feet higher.
I do want to say I did love how the Golden Company got murdered, like, immediately. I was literally, like, full, deep belly laughs. That was hilarious to me.
What's funnier is imagining, because she didn't fly in, and he's taller than the wall. So it's imagining Drogon crawling up to the wall and then blasting it.
Well, I think it's assumed that she was kind of far and she was just smoking it. But either way, it was a really cool shot. I liked them blasting the wall from the inside. That I was all okay with most of this stuff. It's just they needed to plan better so that when they put two scenes like next to each other like this, it doesn't make both of them ridiculous. That's the issue with what they did with the Dragon and the Iron Fleet last week and what they did here. There's just like a disconnect between the two. They needed to find some sort of middle ground to make them not seem so like, oh, now she's super easy to take out and she does nothing, and next week she's super OP and she just kills the whole fleet. It's ridiculous together.
Mm-hmm. But I think another reason for this week too, though, she did maneuver more, right? So because you could see you're saying turn to left, turn to left, turn to left, turn right, turn right. Like they're like trying to go left.
There are scenes where they just put an arm and a leg and a thing to give it like this inhuman speed, which it does have. So that we're just frustrated because it's like they had it at like -2 last week, and now it's at like a 9. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to see, like, is there a logical explanation for what could happen? Because obviously, you know, I don't want to see it. Sky like the idea of the dragon crawling.
Could a dragon get the drop on it and get ambushed? Absolutely. We've seen it happen. It just happened, and it happened in Marine. So can it happen? For sure. But like in Marine, the spears should, like, those things are good for downing dragons, not for killing dragons. You rip up their wings. Like, that's our frustration.
All right, what else? Anything else from the Golden Company?
Golden Company was hilarious.
And then I got to the part where they breached the inner walls. That's when Dothraki rode in. Grey Worm killed Harry Strickland, and the Northern Army.
I mean, the shot from the thumbnail is badass. I don't know why Davos is there in the front besides to help give orders. I think I saw Eric say it's hilarious to see Davos with a sword because he doesn't have fingers on his sword hand.
Which hand got cut? The right hand?
I think it's his sword hand.
Yeah, he was holding it in his left hand.
Oh, okay.
It's still funny. Just that's
I was like, I didn't know that was just the lefty, but then I thought about his fingers being cut off, so I guess that's why he was using his left hand like Jamie. So yeah, but yeah, I did question. I guess Davos can speak the language somewhat, right? So maybe he can he knows enough to give the orders to the people possibly, but they do speak the common tongue as we saw with some of them probably do.
In the beginning there was a shot with Tyrion, Davos, and Jon on a hill. You didn't have the exact shot, but there's a shot in the show, and it mimics the shot where it's Tormund, Jon, and 1-1 from Battle of the Bastards. It's the same layout.
Shot. Yes, Sky, they are wyverns. Me and Tom have had these complaints before as well.
Oh.
Because they only got 2 legs.
Yeah, well, that's what George R. R. Martin's saying. Like, the dragon shouldn't have 4 legs.
Well, yeah, because nothing in nature does.
Yeah.
So what happened next?
That has wings.
So then we go to Qyburn telling Cersei we have to leave because they breached the gate. She's like, no, because the Iron Fleet will hold Blackwater Bay. She's like, no, the Iron Fleet is gone. He goes, the Golden Company are also dead. We can't keep fighting them. She goes, well, the Golden Company are sellswords. My Lannister men will guard their queen with their life. And he goes, yes, my queen. And then he kind of backs off for a second. Then we come to the standstill where we see the Northern Army go face to face with the Lannister men. And then Dany perches up on top of the like a tower with Drogon. And then the Lannister men looking like, oh crap, we can't fight that. And they all lay down their swords. And then you hear while they keep cutting back from a scene of Dany on the Drogon and then Cersei in the tower. Dany on Drogon, Cersei on the tower. Dany on the Drogon, and Cersei kind of losing faith in her army and all that. And then you keep hearing in the background the little voices saying, "Ring the bell, ring the bell." And you see Tyrion. They also show Tyrion looking at the bell too. They keep showing overlays of the bell, and finally you see a shot over Tyrion's shoulder of the bell, and the bell finally rings, signaling the surrender of the capital. Then we see Dany's face change, anger erupt, and then we see the scene from Bran's vision. Now this is a little bit later in Bran's vision because we don't see this part, but we do see the scene. Because I was waiting the entire episode, when are we gonna see the scene? When are we gonna see the scene? Then they finally show the scene after they siege the gate, or break the first gate of the shadow flying over. Now we know what the one shadow was. Then it goes on to this scene where you actually see Drogon fly into view. So this is the part that we didn't get to see, and then Drogon starts laying waste to King's Landing, just breaking all the houses, burning people, and then Grey Worm starts the attack. He goes, let's attack. He starts attacking the Lannister men, and then at this point, Jon is trying to hold back the Northern men, saying, no, don't fight. They surrendered. And Grey Worm kind of looks back at him in disgust. And then we have Tyrion really shocked about what's happening. He can't believe what's happening. And then we do get that one. We do get that one heartbreaking scene. I'm trying to bring it up because I went out of order on the pictures. It's right here of this girl. This kind of broke my heart. This little girl hiding on a wall, people dying. I'm guessing it's her mother or sister that's dying behind her, possibly getting raped, and she's just there, it's just look at her face, she's doing a great job. her facial. Yeah, the new Arya. That's what I was thinking too. Like, maybe they're like alluding to that, but like, this is just, I don't know. This scene is just so powerful. I like seeing like the girl just did a fantastic job. Selling the fear and all that. I thought, and it was just crazy right there. So up to the part where Dany starts her attack and the Unsullied start attacking, and Jon's trying to hold his men back. What do you guys think from the breach to there?
I don't get this bell thing. The bells are only used when a monarch dies.
That's complicated because they don't really establish the only
But why
reasons the bells.
so all the peasants know that if you ring the bells?
Okay, so this whole thing is subverting what they did with the Battle of the Bells in the books. I don't know how familiar you are with that, Cal, but it's in Robert's Rebellion. So in that particular battle, Aerys is threatening to burn things down, and they ring the bells to get people to go back to safety, to hide for safety, and they actually do successfully get people out of there, and they go safely, and they don't burn the place to the ground. But this is more like what would have happened if they did, in fact, burn everyone to the ground. So I thought that was cool, and I think that the name of the episode is in homage to the Battle of the Bells. So that's where that's coming from. They wanted to do the Battle of the Bells things. That's why I think the bells is such a huge thing here. You guys know that I'm pleased. Everyone hates the Mad Queen thing, but I think that that's one thing that they actually did successfully foreshadow and set up for a while on the show. I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago I had been saying on Night's Watch about how Dany's going to go Mad Queen, and everyone's pissed off and thought I was ridiculous for throwing that theory out back then. So I was sitting here pleased as punch when she started burning everyone to the ground. I just think the show failed at making her seem crazy to me, because I thought up until last episode, up until really this moment, that she was pretty reasonable in the way that she was reacting to the things happening around here. So I think they could have done a better job at making her seem like crazy, but I did love her burning everything to the ground. I was chuckling and it was hilarious because to me it was so clear that that's what was going to happen with this character. It's very George Martin to build up this hero for so many years and then just have her be the villain at the last moment. So to me, I know like a lot of people are complaining because it's like a female character and she's so powerful and awesome, and she was the hero, and they're wounded that he would do that. But to me, it's not really about her gender. It's just about having a hero of the story and then making them the villain at the last second. And I think that that's great, and it's very of the story, like true to the story. So
before Tom, just a few things. Apparently, Gleacher says Varys and Tyrion talked about the different times they've rung the bells earlier in the season. And also, people think it should have happened sooner. I think that the Dany thing. I think it was the monarch is born, the city's being sacked, and weddings. That's what Delisha said. But not, if you want to go back to the moment Kimber said it, I'm pretty sure that the moment that Kimber said it was the episode where the Khalasar is leaving Vice Dothrak, and Dany feels wind or something, and that's when she finds Drogon, and then she lands Drogon in front of all the Dothraki and saying, "You're like, I don't want just 3 blood riders like we normally have. You guys are all my Dothrakoi, which are my all blood riders." And that's when Kimber says it. She goes, "That's a very villain speech." If I remember correctly, that's when she says it. So.
Cal remembers the exact moment.
Love I do. It. I remember when you said it on the show. And she surpassed Stannis in child killing. Technically, Stannis didn't kill any children, if you think about it.
It's not like she was hunting out children. She was just indiscriminately killing everybody. Her own guys, everything.
All right, sorry to interrupt, Tom. Go ahead with your thoughts on this part.
Forgot what I was saying. And now I'm curious about them talking about the bells. Yeah, that was probably my only complaint.
The bells?
Oh, I mean, I was mad. I was mad at Dany, obviously, because I'm like, you had it. You had everything you wanted. You had. But we'll get into the next stop because I'm about to break the storyline.
I'm about to break.
Everything you say to me.
Gets you one step closer. Okay, so we'll get one step closer to it by going to the next scene where Jon saves a woman from being raped by killing one of his own men. just showing you how noble Jon is, and he'll kill his own men just to save the innocent. Meanwhile, Jaime finally makes the little beach entrance that Tyrion told him about, but he's interrupted by everyone's favorite lame excuse for Jack Sparrow, as they call him. Euron Greyjoy goes, "If you kill me, you'll be a Kingslayer twice over." And Jaime goes, "He's no queen." But he goes, "Yeah, but I fucked the queen." And then him and Jaime begin to fight. While this is happening, Drogon and Dany have finally made it to the Red Keep and start laying waste to the Red Keep. And that's when Kyber said, you see parts of the Red Keep collapsing, and Kyber's like, "We have to go, my queen." And he goes, "Maegor's safe hold. Maegor's holdfast will be a safer." So they, Maegor's holdfast, I think, is located on a hill a little bit further away. I think Maegor, I'm part of the book that I'm up to in Fire and Blood. They took it over from the something of the Seven had the Seven soldiers or some warriors of the Seven used to have a training there. I think Maegor took it over because he was Maegor the Cruel, Maegor Targaryen. So yeah, that's where they're gonna move it. It's on top of the hill and covered from all sides. Jaime then gets stabbed by Euron, and Euron's like, pleased with himself, and Jaime finally crawls in the picture with the sword. Euron, you see the look on Euron's face like, how could you? Why are you still fighting? And I think he stabs Jaime one more time. But while that's happening, Jaime does get one good lick into Euron, impaling him with a sword. And then he goes, you killed a king twice now. Congratulations, but I'm the man who killed Jaime Lannister. And Jaime Lannister runs away. Arya and Sandor make it to the map room, and they're about to complete their own missions, I guess you could say. But the Hound stops Arya and says, "Listen, you don't need to do this. If you go the way I go, you're not going to make it back. You've done enough. Go home. It's time for you to go home." And she kind of pauses, and Clegane starts walking away, and she goes, "Sandor," which I don't think she's ever called him that. She's ever called him, and she goes, "Thank you," and he kind of gives a little nod. That was another great scene because these two characters have been together since the River Run episodes. Before then, with the Brotherhood without banners and all that, and that was nice, kind of farewell too for each other because I figure that's the last time we see them together. Also, Queen's making her escape with the Queen's Guard. Another explosion rocks the exit for them, their escape, and the ceiling starts falling in, and a lot of the Queen's Guard die here, but Qyburn and Cersei are protected by the mountain as he makes a little protective barrier over them and takes all. You see a giant boulder fall on him, and he takes it, no problem. And that kind of helps you understand what happens a little bit later in this episode, that he gets to take hits. So your guys' thoughts from Jon killing his own guy up till the escape, the beginning of the Queen's escape?
It's just weird that they keep giving us big bad episode to episode. It's like Night King, Night King, Night King, Cersei, 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 Dany, Dany, Dany. That I don't know what they're gonna do next episode. Are they gonna break format?
It's Dany, Dany next episode for sure. I thought it was kind of a missed opportunity for when Euron and Jaime were fighting for them to have not brought up the fact that he didn't father Cersei's baby. I thought that would be really easy to get into the conversation, and that would have hurt Euron more because now he has no legacy. I think he fancies himself a king because he, in his mind, has fathered a child with the queen. So Jaime could have hurt him really badly if he was like, actually, no, that's my baby. Gotti, they didn't do it at all. So I think that was a bit of a missed opportunity, and that fight was I
still don't believe she's pregnant.
I'm just super disappointed with what they did with Jaime in this episode in general, and with Arya, to be completely honest, because to have Jaime not actually be going back to kill Cersei is a really huge missed opportunity, because he's not only got the best redemption arc in the series, he has one of the best redemption arcs in any series, in my opinion, and they really screwed the pooch with him on the show. They brought him right back to where he started and made everything that he did pointless, and it's a huge bummer. And Arya, for her to kind of be turning away from the path of death and stuff, that also doesn't seem true to her character. I think it would be much more appropriate for her to die.
We'll get there.
Yeah, but she's already. They're already kind of doing the like, oh, like that was her moment. Like, oh, do you want to keep murdering people? Are you on this path, or are you turning away? And she kind of turned away in this episode, which doesn't seem like her to me.
Yeah, zero redemption now. That is true, and I will come up to a little bit and want to get to that part about redemption for Jamie in a little while. But yeah, any other thoughts for you guys? I know you're talking about the Arya thing, but anything else?
I'm saving it.
All right. Okay. So coming up, it's probably one of the most anticipated things that we've been waiting for a long, long time. Dun, 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 dun. Sandor Clegane makes it to the steps. And it's funny because he goes, "Your Grace," to Cersei, which is like, he still has his mannerism, but she's a knight, but like he doesn't really think of himself as like a guy who has manners or is a knight. But he does say he addresses her as "Your Grace," kind of like in a condescending or I guess matter of fact kind of thing, not really with any I guess I can't think of the word that escapes me right now, but like whatever the word is, like without any honor behind it kind of thing, like any platitude. But he still, you know, the mountain steps up to fight him, and what's her face? So it's just stay by my side, Sir Gregor, but he doesn't want to. Then Kyber runs up to saying, "Listen, you have to protect your queen." The mountain grabs him, smashes him, his head against a rock, and throws him, and that's the death of Kyber. And then Sandor lets her walk by because, you know, there's no point. He has no business with her. He figures, you know, she'll die. Her end will come. So then we see the face off, and with the dragon flying over, just like the Super Bowl, where you have the jet fly over and all that. You know, we have them face off, and yeah, so thus begins Clegane Bowl. But we don't get to that yet because when Cersei escapes, she finds Jamie in the same place that Jamie left her. This is the scene. This is the exact location, the map room where Jamie left her, saying, you know, I have to go do my duty and fight for the North because I gave my word. So Clegane Bowl in full tilt. It's an even matchup when it comes to swordplay. However, when it comes to brute power and durability, the Mountain is definitely the clear winner there. He takes an impaling, he takes slashes, he takes everything, and just keeps coming. We finally get a look at his face as well. I'll go back to that picture so you can see he kind of looks like Darth Vader from the end of Return of the Jedi. A lot of people have been putting up those memes as well. As soon as I saw that, that's what I thought of too. Like before the memes even came up, I'm like, wow, he does look like the end of Return of the Jedi. So here's where he got stabbed, and Clegane's like, why don't you just die? Like, why can't you die? Arya's trying to escape the city while this, because, you know, Sandor sent her out saying, listen, you have to escape the city. So there's a lot of scenes of her and just juxtapositioned with Sandor, like when he falls, she falls kind of thing. And they kind of mirroring each other, what's happening between the fight and Arya leaving, the struggle. Mm-hmm. And then Jon sees, like, it just started to explode all around her. And he just orders to retreat, says, everyone fall back, get out of the gates, leave the city. So the beginning of Clegane, well, I guess the meeting of Clegane with the Queen's Guard up till when Jon orders a retreat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked that Qyburn was just sort of unceremoniously thrown up against the wall and killed because, one, it felt like a shout out to how he killed, you know, the royal children, Oberyn's niece and nephew. He like basically just threw that baby up against a wall and he died kind of like Qyburn did, and also had like a Frankenstein monster type vibe, just taking out his creator like that. So I liked that part a lot. I personally thought Clegane Bowl was a little lackluster.
Yeah. The whole thing about Clegane Bowl was that I always felt like there was going to be purpose behind it. It always felt like it was going to be like a trial. Like if they had captured Cersei and then they were like, all right, well, you're going to be executed. And she goes, trial by combat. I got the mountain. And then Sandor has to, like, it'd be great because that's how he, like, died the first time. But this, they had to, like, have build, like, there was no, granted, okay, everything's falling, but there was no reason to go fight the mountain. Just like how he let Cersei go, the mountain would have died in the rubble too. Like there was no reason for the Hound and Arya to go down there at all.
If I was the Hound, I would have tripped Cersei, so she would have fallen down the stairs.
I mean, I like the whole thing. I like when the dragon flew over. That was really cool because I was like it was like the beginning of the Super Bowl to me.
Yeah.
It was very cool.
It's a spectacle. It's not.
It's Michael Bay's Game of Thrones, just like we've been complaining about. It's all explosions and duels. Like there were so many duels this time, but they're all kind of inconsequential at this point because the duel that we needed was like Jon versus the Night King several episodes ago, and
or Jaime versus like the duels that we want. They just gave us random pairings like out of a hat.
I mean, people wanted Clegane Bowl,
right,
don't get me wrong.
But who was asking for the Euron Jaime fight?
No one. 0 people.
They're like, yeah, we want him to swim all the way from Blackwater Bay to this beach so he can fight Jaime. But he's going to be good, not tired or anything.
Well, maybe that's why he was able to beat him, because Jaime's one-handed and left and his off hand, so that's why made it more of an equal fight, because Euron was tired. So I don't know.
The whole time we were yelling at the screen, hit him with the hand, hit him with
your hand.
Take my strong hand. Any more thoughts before we move on to the next part?
No, you keep going.
No, I'm still saving it.
All right. So as the city's crumbling, Arya finds shelter in this little hideaway where a lot of people are. But she's like, we can't stay here. We got to keep moving. We got to keep moving. So that's that mother and daughter that we met earlier with the white horse. Starts. Unfortunately, you see Drogon flying behind them. She's injured. Arya tries to pick her up again, but she can't. So the mother's like, just take my daughter, take my daughter. So Arya takes to take the daughter pushes Arya away, runs towards his mother, and then you see them engulfed in flames, and Arya collapses for the 8th time this episode into ash and smoke. Meanwhile, the escape route for Jaime and Cersei is blocked off. So what happens is she says, I don't want to die, I don't want to die, I don't want my baby to die like this. And Jaime just holds her and says, look at me, it's us, it's always been us, it's just us, it's always been us, and it's always going to be us. And then the dungeons, or whatever you want to call it, the crypts start collapsing, and it collapses about on top of Jaime and Cersei. Pan back outside, we see Arya wake up from her shell shock, and she sees the ash of the mother and daughter and the white wooden horse. And all of a sudden, then the horse from Twin Peaks appears. If you ever wonder when it disappears, where does it go? It goes to King's Landing.
Yeah.
Face to face Arya, and on a pale horse she rides out of King's Landing and towards the end of the episode. And that is how the episode ends.
Am I the only one who thinks she's dead?
You think Arya's dead?
Yeah.
That's why she's on a pale horse?
She's dead. Well, A, okay. Right? There's no way that thing survived. B, unless you said it was a shout out to another thing. They're Stricklands. Sorry. But that was like some Rob Zombie Halloween.
Yeah, I was complaining about it. I thought the white horse thing was ridiculous because I'm pretty sure we saw that horse in question die. But it's in the second Halloween movie with Rob Zombie. They do like this whole white horse plotline thing, and I was thinking about how terrible it was in that movie and how I thought it was really corny here. And then we watched somebody else, I think it might have been Preston Jacobs, talking about the episode, and they were also pointing out the parallels to this Halloween 2, and mess.
It's just like, why would you choose to have the little girl hold a white horse, then have the horse burned, then have another real white horse show up with glowing yellow light overhead? Like, well, no, she's dead. She just drove off into the nether realm, and that's why John was pissed.
There's a lot of Dothraki there. So anyone there Dothraki could have got hurt and killed, and one of the horses ran off. Because Harry Strickland's horse did die. I didn't look. I would
look at the hair.
I don't know if that was his horse. I don't think it really matters.
We'll see. We'll see on Sunday. Who's right?
I'm also not with Tom's theory. That's his own theory. But I do think it's dumb, and that it was like Halloween 2, which is a terrible movie.
So. Scott, welcome, Halo. Halo showed up too. Welcome, Halo. Sky saying he thinks she's death because death rides.
TJ likes your theory.
Yeah, and Rain saying maybe the white horse was Bran warging into it and bringing the horse to her.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
So I don't know, a lot of different theories about that. But what about probably one of the biggest deaths of the episode, I guess, if you think about it, Jaime and Cersei, if they are dead, that is, but most likely they're dead. What do I
think about that? Fart noises.
You know what happened?
Terrible.
The mountain survived, ran and bulldozed through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, and then jumped over Jaime and Cersei at the last minute. So they're alive under there.
Yeah, you never know what they felt. So I forgot to mention that the Hound to finally beat. I don't think I showed those images. I might have missed those images. There's a lot of these images of the Hound and that look the same. But let me take a look if I have the images. We have a part where the Hound gets his eyes gouged out. I don't think I even have those images actually. The Hound gets his eyes gouged out, kind of, but and the Hound then stabs Gregor through the eye, and then Gregor charges him, spears him through the wall into the fire. So he dies by the thing that he fears the most. They both presumably died to the thing that what hurt Sandra all these years ago. Sandra uses to kill both of them. But yeah, this whole thing with them dying, there was actually an interesting theory brought up. I think it was on IGN or something about the Valonqar theory. How they're saying, the little sibling, because it's High Valyrian, right? So it's genderless, right? That there's no gender when they talk about prophecies or whatever. So they're saying that Dany could have been the little sibling, because in the sense that when Cersei was asking the prophecy, it was about Rhaegar. So Dany being Rhaegar's little sibling, that's how the Valonqar theory was.
However they want to backtrack it, it's fine.
A fresh new twist on it. So I don't know.
It was ass. I think we all know it was ass. And we can try to justify it in any way we want. It's not good writing.
I think it works the other way, because I thought Clegane might kill Cersei because of the little brother thing, because it's the Mountain's little brother, you know what I mean? So that's why I thought the trial by combat thing, not that he would directly kill her, but he would be the cause of her death, and that's why Clegane. I mean, that could be why it happens in the books. I don't know if it happens in the books, but we'll see.
All right, and any final thoughts before we get to our champions and all that?
Nope.
I'm just happy to have my Mad Queen. Been saying it forever. Felt real good. Loved it even more that everyone was pissed. Feel my pain, peasants. Not you guys. The other peasants.
And some people say because Jamie had his hands around her neck. So yeah, in the end, we'll talk about it when it comes to the poll. But we got to start. There's got to be some good in this episode. So I'm going to start with Tom here. And Tom, who is your champion of this episode?
Ghost.
Ghost. Why?
He knew it was going downhill, and he got out of there, man.
So he had good prescience to get out. So Kimber, who is your champion of this episode?
My champion of this episode is Dany, because that was clearly the best part of this entire season. It made me happy to see one of my theories come true, because it's what made sense for the story, and it's the first time I've seen them doing something all season that made sense for the story. So she's my champion.
For me, my champion will be Sandor Clegane. So it can't be Theon this episode, unfortunately. But yeah, Sandor Clegane, I think he did, the moment here with Arya was great. I love that moment. And then obviously him fighting his brother and then dying, sacrificing himself into the flames. That was just a great moment for me, because he's one of my favorite characters in the books as well as in the show. And just seeing I think his arc was done pretty well, at least to this point. So Sandor Clegane gets my champion. But with the good must come the bad. So we're going to start with Lady Kimber first. And remember to pause for the shame bell. Who gets your shame bell this week?
Sir Jaime Lannister gets my shame bell this week.
Oh, sorry. The shame bell's broken for that, so you're going to try again?
You heard me.
Shame.
It's really not his fault. It's the writing, once again, ruining a character that is beloved by so many because of his wonderful redemption arc, and to take that away from him is one of the biggest travesties of this entire show.
But is that Jamie's fault?
I said it was the writer's fault, but he's getting shamed because he's who they did it to.
Okay. Tom?
Victim blaming. I can't pick the writers again. I'm picking Dany, and
Hold on.
no.
Shame.
Can I get half a shame? Okay, well, let's do it now.
I do all three. My arm can only move in threes.
It's more because I thought she would go mad too. Like it obviously was leaning towards that, especially with how quickly they took care of the Night King. But I can't believe how I never saw her like going mad after she succeeded. Like I always thought she would be forced into that situation and then lash out. So to see her like get the bells ringing to tactically take down everything, I was cheering for her. And then there was that her just staring at the tower or at the red keep, and you're like, and I was so disappointed. And I know it's better for her character to have a moment where you're like, that's insane, because why would a sane person do that after they've won? So it's a good use to show what like the Targaryen madness is about and stuff. But I that's about it. Yeah.
All right, so we have a question in the chat, and I'm going to let Kimber address it in a second, but let me give my shame bell to Jon Snow again, because he really didn't do much this episode, except for save that woman, so that was nice. But if he did give some of the P to the V to the D, this would probably never happen, so my shame bell goes to Jon Snow. Shame. He got one for every episode this season so far. Can he make it the entire season to get the shame bell? So the question I'm gonna have Kimber answer, because it's her theory. Halo underscore Smythe, not to be confused with Halo Smythe. Halo underscore Smythe asks, how did it make sense? There was no motive for Danny to burn the city.
Yeah, again, that comes down to poor writing. They have been foreshadowing Danny going Mad Queen for many, many seasons now. They just did a poor job this season, because I think that she was, as much as they, in their minds, thought that they were making her seem like a Mad Queen, I would really say that a lot of people considered her going that way on the show when she took out the Tarleys. I thought she was very justified in most of her actions, considering what she's been through and what she's dealing with. So I thought it was a little strange that the way that they handled it in this episode, that they could have done they did a poor job and they could have done better. But just the fact that they did make her finally go Mad Queen, which is one, what I think is going to happen in the books, and two, something that they've been foreshadowing since very early on in the show, is what I'm praising. Not necessarily the way they did it, but just the fact that they did make her go Mad Queen.
Can I say something on my Arya theory one more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
No one believes you except TJ, but
Look,
go ahead.
What's the one thing that Martin has said would not happen in the books? He said he can't kill off Arya because his wife will leave him. And what's the one thing D&D would do just to surprise us? That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, I want her to die, but I don't think they're going to do it like metaphorically.
No, they
like
gave
that.
her a beautiful hero's goodbye, like a Frodo goodbye.
They're not that deep this season.
No, that's why it was only 3 minutes long.
They're not that deep.
Wasn't she in the preview for next episode?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Oh.
Maybe. Now I have to look. Damn it.
Yeah, they're not that deep this season.
And why the light?
It shows her walking through the crowd, I think. So yeah, she might be in the preview.
Oh my God, she's a white. She was marked by the Night King.
Maybe that could be a better theory than what you just said before.
They don't have time.
All right. So at this point, our Maester joins us from across the narrow sea. Unfortunately, I think, like I said, the power's out in his area, so we're gonna have to go with our other Maester. But before we do that, we gotta listen for a certain sound. So let's take a look if we can hear that sound.
Yeah, so
all right, so over the poll from last week, what do we have?
Yeah, we had who will kill Cersei, and with an astounding 75% of the votes, people said Jaime, because yes, that is correct. That's what should have happened, and that's what made sense with the story. You also had 14% who thought that it might be Arya, probably mostly due to them doing the whole Melisandre switching around her quote to make it do a thing. And then 11% said other, and Jeff was in the comments here saying Tyrion, citing that he might be reluctant, but he did it when he had to kill Shay. And Eric Monroe said Arya, but with Jaime's face.
That would have been cool.
Daenerys was on the poll as well, but 0% of people guessed that.
Danny, yeah, what ended up pretty much being Danny. So we do have one more poll for this current season. There's 2 more polls left in the Night's Watch season, but one more poll for this season 8 of Game of Thrones, which will end by 8:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. So do you want to give us the choices and what the poll is for next week?
Yes, it says who will sit on the Iron Throne, and the choices are John, Danny, nobody, or other. Comment below.
Or Bran? Why is everybody on the Bran train?
I don't know.
The betting. The poll. Halo says the poll is better than the writing. Thank you. But yeah, so Tom, your thoughts. Who is going to end up in the Iron Throne to close out the season or the show?
So, okay, if I have to guess, Danny is going to start the episode on the Iron Throne. Some shenanigans are going to go down. And I think it's going to be I think Danny's going to be the last queen of Westeros who, like, ruled for, like, a day. Like, I think they're going to go into, like, start and moving into, like, democracy and having the different regions, like the North and Dorne and all like that, but they vote to settle matters as opposed to just a one ruler.
Right. I'm going to go to Kimber, which I already know what it is because it popped up on my screen on my left side. She's been all season long.
I'm sticking to my same thing, but I think that Tyrion and Sansa will end up together, and that Tyrion will start to introduce some sort of democracy. I think that Dany's probably going to die next episode, and that Jon, even if he lives, doesn't want it. So I think that the introduction of some sort of democracy is what makes sense for the story. That being said, I don't know what they're doing, so this is what I would do. I don't know.
You know what'd be great is that at the end, it's like they do establish a democracy, and the table they're sitting at is a wheel. Because they reinvented the wheel.
I think that everyone's gonna explode, and then it's just gonna be like, "Bwah," and like break into a guitar solo.
Night King just pops out.
A monster truck. Night King's driving a monster truck through the city. That's what's gonna happen.
Sunday.
For me, I think it's gonna be like I agree with you guys. Danny's gonna start the episode on the throne, or at least near the throne, because who knows what the status of the throne is? Because I don't think will she ever sit on the throne because of her vision kind of thing, with the ash and all that. But yeah, I think, obviously Danny's going to die next episode and there will be nobody sitting on the throne. Like, I agree with you guys. It'll probably be like, they're going to offer it to Jon. He'll turn it down as always has been doing. And they'll have the whole democracy thing. And I think Jon will leave and go north of the wall possibly because that's where he feels like he's comfortable. Maybe you'll get the reunion with Ghost that everybody wants to see, and then maybe Jon will become the new Night King. Who knows? Or
he could bring the wildlings into the fold and represent them.
Table,
you know what I mean? Like, there's no wall anymore. They can be part of the same.
Yeah, they're all one whole kingdom. Well, one whole kingdom, but including everybody. Because I don't think everyone's going to have issues with that.
And Yara's already familiar with the King's Moot, so she would probably be down for it. Like, I think it's just the natural way to go.
But only time will tell. And if you guys want to participate in this poll, I think we got up to like 70 votes by now. But yeah, this poll will close 8:59 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, right before the final episode of Game of Thrones airs. So that's pretty much it for this episode, Season 8, Episode 5, The Bells. Next week, we don't know what the episode's going to be called. Any thoughts on what the final episode's going to be called? Endgame, maybe.
I don't know, man.
The Throne.
Maybe they'll just call it A Song of Ice and Fire.
Or The Butler Did It.
Fart Noises the movie. That's what I'm naming it.
Do you know what The Butler Did It is a reference to?
Clue?
No. George Martin wrote a thing that says if you write your story the whole time because your butler did it, and then somebody finds out that your butler did it, you don't change it to the maid.
Yeah.
So it's just.
I actually just watched that interview a few days ago, thinking about. I don't know why I watched it, but I did watch it on YouTube the other day. But yeah, so your thoughts too. You guys can tweet at us about what you guys think will be the final title of the last episode of Game of Thrones ever until the prequel, I guess, comes out. But that's what we have now. I know some people are brought back by this episode. Some people are even more angry. But listen, everyone's entitled to their opinions, and just enjoy it while it lasts, because we only got one more episode left, and I don't think it's much of a long one. It's not, I think it's not as long as the I was gonna say the Battle of Winterfell, the Long Night, but it is about an hour and 22 minutes maybe, if that. So just enjoy it while it lasts, and we'll be back next week with this. But before we go, let me go ahead and do the social media plugs for all of us. So go ahead, Tom, if you want to start us out.
We have a bunch of content over at Odd Shape Channel.
That's all you're saying?
That's all I have.
Okay, and yeah, I have a true crime channel that I started pretty recently. And you can check out my video I put out last week about Nexium. And in a week, on Tuesday, I'm going to be putting out an episode about Ted Bundy. So if you have any interest in serial killers, conspiracy theories, spooky stuff in general, please go over there and subscribe to my page. I'd really appreciate it. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kimberbatch_OSP.
I was disappointed because I thought we were doing a Married with Children episode. But
Another thing,
that's Al Bundy.
Another thing is, remember, all the descriptions, all their links and stuff are found in the description below. And don't forget, Kimber's episodes come out every other Tuesday, and she also has merchandise that is coming out, and she's doing a giveaway soon that if you check her out on Twitter as well. So don't forget that as well. As for me, I'm your host, Cal the Kingslayer. You can always find me here over the Kingslayer Network. Sky says the episode will be called Game of Thrones .simple. Game of Thrones .simple. Or or the Mad Queen. We missed Bobby B. What?
Bobby Baratheon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you can find me here or on Twitch at Kingslayer Network. Speaking of Halo, I'll be back tomorrow streaming with her tomorrow night. So it's my first night stream in a long time. It's first night stream in a long time. We're going to be collaborating on Marvel Heroes Alliance. Ultimate Alliance, I think, whatever it's called. Marvel Ultimate Alliance, yeah. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can always find me over on Twitter at KingslayerNet as well. And here on the Night's Watch, we'll be back next week for the final episode of the season. Not our season, but Game of Thrones season. We have 2 more episodes here left on the Night's Watch. We'll talk about the final episode of Night's Watch in next week. But until then, guys, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. All men must die.